Hey guys, hey, I wanted to share with you an interesting situation that happened to me on July 5th. So here's the scenario. I invited over some neighbors, a couple that lives down the street. They've been married for years. They're older individuals. Probably got 20 years on me, and so they came over. Really nice people. And then my next door neighbor, right? So my immediate next door neighbor, adjacent to me, and him and his sister came over, right? Well, he's gay, right? So that kind of gives you the dynamic of the people that were in the room, okay? Well, a long time ago, it's been a while. I remember when I was contemplating starting this YouTube channel, I talked to the gentleman that's married down the street. And, he was telling me the challenges that his daughter's going through dating and that sort of thing. And I said, yeah, men really don't know how to act anymore. They're soy boys, and, they just don't know how to treat women, or, they get too needy, and, next thing you know, they're stalking the women and, all this shit. Right. So, I told him, I said, is that kind of the situation that she's going through? Yeah. He goes, yeah, she doesn't really trust him and this and that. And, that was one of the inputs to my decision of doing this YouTube channel, right? Because, the more and more I kept hearing about it, I was just like, dude, these cats just don't know how to deal with women. It's terrible. For a while there, I didn't know how to deal with women. And, well, I mean, part of that is because I was taught, right? So here's the red pill, here's the blue pill. I was taught the blue pill, but I always wanted to go down the red pill path. That's where I felt comfortable, right? And I told you guys in a previous video that this is the way I felt. But I always had these blue pill guys pulling me over this way, right? I mean, they're like crabs in a bucket, man. They were trying to pull me over big time, And, the excuse that I always got was like, well, you shouldn't treat women like that. You shouldn't, the perception is that I treated women bad, right? And that, and all I was doing was spinning plates. I was trying to find out what I wanted, I mean, I had an idea of the woman that I wanted back then. I always had an idea of it. And over time, it's changed. But, I mean, for the most part, I kind of stuck to that. And the other thing, too, with me is that women were always on the back burner for me. They were never a priority, because the way I thought about it, and I was never really taught this. I just kind of realized it on my own because I paid attention, right? And the way I would think about it is like, the woman is not going to get me what I want in life, and what I wanted in life was to get my education, become something, you know what I mean, and buy my house, have my cars, have my toys, whatever the case may be, you know what I mean? But have my life, have an established life, and then, I could meet somebody. And that kind of came from the upbringing that my mom used to teach, right? My dad used to he used to back it up, get your education, and then you can do whatever you want. You know what I mean? So that was always in the back of my mind. So that's why women were on the back burner. It was never a priority to me because they weren't taking my tests. They weren't doing anything for me. I mean, they were support in some cases and not really, but that's what I thought. That was my mentality, right, back then. Well, the more I grew and the more I dated, the more that started to disintegrate, right? I mean, it started dissipating little by little. I was like, that whole idea of a woman, right? Kind of, I always had it in the back of my mind that I was going to find the one, that I was going to get married, I was going to have kids with her, and that sort of thing, right? Next thing you know, I'm I'm 49 years old, and I've been through a lot of shit, and I'm just like, nah, man, that shit was never for me. You know what I mean? And what I realized is that, that blue pill path that these guys wanted me to go on, and that the majority, 98% of the community wanted me to go on, was never the path that I chose. I always wanted to go down a red pill path, but that was something that was innate to me. I was never red pilled. I mean, I found out the red pill at the age of 40 years old, and I'm 49. So that was never a thing. But I always would see what my friends would do and what people would do, when they, men, namely men, right? What they would do when they got into a relationship, and they would just basically give themselves up and become what the woman wanted them to be, right? But then I saw their downfall too. They'd get divorced, you know what I mean? They go through really difficult marriages, really difficult divorces, that sort of thing, really difficult breakups. And I was like, you know what? That doesn't make sense to me. It's not fun. And then I got into a couple of relationships, and I was just like, this just doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? Because when you get into a relationship, you start morphing towards that blue pill narrative, and I just didn't like it, right? So that's why I always wanted to stay in my frame. I was always happier when I was doing my own thing, when I was living my own life. And women would come and go in my life, and it was great, but it was, I never wanted to give myself up to them. You know what I mean? And so that's, in a nutshell, that's kind of what I've talked about in my past videos, right? Well, when my neighbors came over, right, we were having this conversation, and I tried to explain this aspect, right? I tried to explain the red pill and the blue pill. Guys, don't ever do that. Don't ever do that, because I found myself starting to go down a rabbit hole, right? And it's a rabbit hole where the perception is that you're narcissistic, right? And that you're a woman hater, you know what I mean? Basically what all the red pill guys say, right? Because they're going to look at me, and already they made their assumptions about me, right? That they have no idea what I've been through. None. And none of them, when they ask, they don't really want to know, but they ask out of courtesy, right? Because I start explaining it to them, and next thing you know, they have a short attention span, and they start looking somewhere else. You know what I mean? Then why did you ask me? Yeah, I never really understood that. But people have a really short attention span nowadays. I just don't get it. But that's kind of what happened, right? And so we're having this conversation. We're having a nice conversation. And they start asking me, the gentleman asked me, he goes, so how's that YouTube thing going? And I said, it's going really good. Oh, what are you doing on YouTube? So I started explaining, and stupid me, right? I mean, I should know this already. I don't know why I did this, but I start getting into it, right? I start explaining the red pill, the red pill and the blue pill. And I start, trying to articulate the philosophies, right? Well, I start going down into a rabbit hole, right? And the women, everybody's kind of looking at me like, you know what I mean? I'm like, wait a minute, settle down, just relax, listen to what I have to say. And right away, man, right away I start talking, I start throwing my philosophies out there or whatever, you know what I mean, the perspectives. And I wasn't trying to red pill these people, right? I was not, because they're just not people to red pill. I'm just kind of explaining the way of the world. You know what I mean? You know, I'm out in the field, and then I get challenged, right? All these people start challenging me, and they start putting in their 2 cents, and you know, I mean, I deflected. I mean, I slapped away all their questions. You know what I mean? And I was really challenging them, you know. But the problem is that they didn't want to get out of that blue pill narrative. And you know, the gentleman who was married to the woman said, you know, I found my one. I found her. You know, and I said, well, you know, you grew up in a very different time than I did. Right? Even when I was younger, being a Gen Xer, right? Dating in the late 80s, early 90s, you know, in 2000s. It was even a different time than it is now, you know? I remember when I was dating, when I was younger, you know, you used to call a woman on the phone and, hey, you want to go out? I'll pick you up at 8, that kind of thing, right? Now it's, you know, you got to look at their Instagram to make sure that's somebody that you really want to be with. If you look interesting on the Instagram, then you get a coffee date, and then that's a sniff test, and then you decide whether or not you want to go on a real date, right? So like it's like a job interview with a pre-phone call screening. You know what I mean? And I get it. I totally get it, because there's a lot of crazy ass women and men out there. You know what I mean? And especially nowadays, man. I mean, 97% of the men out there don't know how to act. And the majority of the women, you know, they just don't know what they want. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, right? Then what I've found in my life, right, is that, you know, I'm a 40-year-old man, right? I mean, 40-something-year-old man, right? That has his shit together, that has a house, that has things in his life, right? And that has a life, right? I mean, I go out and do fun shit all the time, right? I mean, I enjoy the shit out of my life. And, you know, what I've found is that when a woman sees that and they see your lifestyle, because I mean, bottom line is, man, every Sunday I'm cooking food for the week. I eat extremely healthy. I work out every single day. You know, I'm working to get shredded. I'm trying to, you know, melt this shit off in the middle, right? It's just harder when you get older. And, you know, I mean, I work really hard during the week, and I play really hard on the weekends. You know, I have a house with a pool. I have, you know what I mean? Like, I'm put together. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, I'm a little fucked up right now, but, you know, because I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted from dating, and, you know, because I've gone out on a couple dates, and they exhausted me, man. I mean, it was just like, dude, they sucked the life out of you, man. It's terrible, right? And I know if some of you guys know what I'm talking about. Well, you know, I explained this to them, you know, but it came off as me being narcissistic, that I don't understand women, that I don't, you know, I don't know what I'm talking about, you know? And I don't know what it is, you know what I mean? I have 6 degrees, you know, I have extensive dating, I mean, experience. I've been out in the field for I don't know how long. I met multiple women. It's not a problem for me to meet women. And, you know, I study martial arts. I mean, you know, I work out every day. I do all the right things. And people still think I'm full of shit. I don't understand it. But you know what? What I've realized is that people don't want to hear the truth. You know, I sent a couple emails this morning, and I do it periodically, right? I'll send an email here and there at 3 o'clock in the morning when I wake up, right? Because, I'll usually check my emails, and, it's a quiet time for me, right? And they're like, dude, why are you up at 3 o'clock in the morning? I'm like, because I get shit done. You know what I mean? I hit the emails. The next thing you know, I'm working out by 3:45. I'm lifting weights by 5. Stuff like that. I mean, I try to get it all in. I try to get it all in before I have to go to work, right? Which usually starts 6:37. So, but that's my therapy. That's my therapy. But when I tell people this, they feel like they have to justify their life to me. Like, I ran into a dude that's a year older than me, but he looks older than me, right? And, he was chubby. He had gotten chubby since high school. I hadn't seen him in, I don't know, 20, 25 years or something like that, right? And, he said, man, dude, you've really stayed in good shape. You look good, man. I said, thanks, bro. I mean, I didn't know what to say. I just told him, I said, man, you got hair and you're not that gray. Yeah, I didn't know what to say, but he had gained a lot of weight. It was a trip to me, right? But right away, man, he's got to justify his position. Oh, family, this and that. You know what? Don't gas me up, man. It's just a bunch of bullshit. It's because you're a lazy motherfucker and you don't want to do it, right? And that's the thing. They see a guy like me, and right away everybody's trying to justify their position, or they don't want to hear what I have to say because they know deep down inside it's the truth. And I think that's what happened in this dynamic where I was kicking knowledge, right? And I was trying to tell them what the struggles that are going on right now. I mean, ultimately, when the conversation was over, they understood where I was coming from, and they said it was good that I was trying to help men, but you could tell they didn't agree with me, and that's okay. I mean, if you're in a conversation, you don't always have to agree with that person, and I think those are healthy conversations. It's like the Democrats and Republicans right now, man. They can't agree on shit. And, for years they've been able to talk, and you got to be able to talk, especially if you're in a relationship, friendships, whatever the case may be. But what I've noticed is that people just kind of walk away and they ghost you. Instead of dealing with the situation, they just kind of ghost you, and they're just like, well, fuck it, I don't want to deal with it, so I might as well just take off, I mean, I've done that too. I mean, the thing is that I don't think people are gonna get any better. You know what I mean? Me personally, from my experience, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I really don't think people give a shit anymore. And it's sad, because when you start talking, I remember, in this conversation, when I was telling people about the blue pill and the red pill, I don't think they really gave a shit, because they were constantly trying to change the course of the conversation. And you know what it was? It's because they didn't want to hear it, because they knew I was right. But the thing is, and the takeaway from this video is, don't ever talk about the red pill, right? It's like Fight Club, right? The first 2 rules of Fight Club: don't ever talk about the red pill. Don't ever talk about the red pill. Just don't do it. Just don't talk about it. Certainly do not ever try to red pill people. They have to come to it on their own. If somebody asks you, about the red pill, or hey, what are you doing? What are you doing as far as dating, or ask your opinion on something? Just say, look, you know what? I'm a red pill guy. Oh, what's the red pill? You know what? go to YouTube and watch it. I'm staying out of this conversation, you know? But what I found is I think the people that were here kind of got mad because of my perspective. Do I give a shit? Not really. You know what I mean? Because I'm in the field. Because I know I'm right. And because of the way my life has been, I know I'm right. You know? I know this is the right path because this is the path that I'm happy on. I'm the happiest. Every time I've stuck to myself and been without a woman and been red pilled, right? Doing my own thing, going after my goals, you know, focusing on me, bettering myself, you know, doing my thing. I have been the happiest person, you know? Every time I've been in a relationship, with the exception of my ex-fiance, I've always changed because that's what I thought I had to do. You know, I never changed with my ex-fiance or the woman after her, the Mormon chick, right? But I kind of gave in to her a little bit. You know what I mean? She was a fucking dime piece, man. You know what I mean? So I spent a lot of time with her. But the thing is that at that time, I didn't have a life, man. My life got taken away from me from my ex. And I was treading water, man. I was just trying to figure it out. It was horrible, man. Horrible. So the thing is, guys, and the big takeaway is that I want you to get from this video is don't try to red pill anybody. Don't even talk about the red pill. Don't talk about it. Just do you. That's it. If people don't agree with it, hire slow, fire fast. Get rid of them. Just get rid of them. I've had to do that with a number of friends, man. I mean, that I thought were friends. But, you know, they live a blue pill life and they don't agree with my red pill ways. So, you know, and they take it as, you know, you're being mean to women, you're narcissistic, you're misogynist, you know, all these things, and they have no fucking idea. Do you think any of them have asked me? Right away, they assume, right? They assume, and you know what assuming means, right? It makes an ass out of you and me. They assume that I want this Barbie doll looking, you know what I mean, just beautiful woman that, you know, I just want for sex. You know what I mean? And you know what? That couldn't be the furthest from the truth, man. To be honest with you, man, I like the sneakers, man. The sneaky chicks that you can't tell are hot, but they're fucking hot, right? There's this chick that cuts my dog's hair, right? The groomer. Man, if you looked at her, you wouldn't look at her twice, right? But one time I walked in and she was kind of dressed up. I mean, as much dressed up as she does. And wow, she looked fucking good, dude. And I saw it. I mean, because she comes basically in like, you know, like yoga pants and just a t-shirt and shit, you know, but I could tell this chick was good looking, you know what I mean? And she's a sleeper, man. She just, you know, you couldn't tell. And I like the natural, right? Really natural beauty. I don't like when chicks, you know, like put on a ton of makeup and, you know, they're high maintenance and shit. I don't like that, man. I just don't like that. You know, my ex-fiance was not like that. She was not high maintenance. She took good care of herself, but she was beautiful anyway, right? Just naturally. My favorite thing was when she used to wake up, I used to turn and look at her, man. She was gorgeous just like that. You know what I mean? And, but the woman after that, the Mormon, she used to, dude, she took hours to get ready, man. And, you know, I mean, she was hot. She's smoking. A smoke show. But, you know, that's the difference, right? But do you think they ever asked me that? You know, and I like a girl with a cool personality. So both of the girls had really cool personality, man. They were chill, laid back, joked around, liked to play around. You know, my ex-fiance was really cool, man. She would joke and just play around. She was cool as shit, right? And there was a lot of things that we vibed on. But then the Mormon chick, she was a little bit harder to break in, right? But when she got my personality, she mended to it, man. It was cool, man. We had a good dynamic going on, you know what I mean? And all of the women that I've dated have been cool like that. You know, they're just laid back. They don't take life too serious. They like to joke around. They like to have fun. They're spontaneous, you know, that sort of thing, you know, and you know, I'm always the man, you know, I always take the lead. I always, you know, hey, let's go do this, let's go do that, you know, and some of them will challenge me and give me a shit test, and I'll be like, well, you know, then let's do something else. Let's do this at another time, you know. I'll do the takeaway. It was called the takeaway, right? If they don't want to do what I've planned for them, and they want to try to get me into their frame, I'll do what's called the takeaway, and I'll say, well, you know what, maybe, you know, if you're not apt to doing that, then maybe we should do something at a different time, you know. And usually they change their mind. So, you know, you can use little techniques like that. But the thing is that, and I digress, right? I'm going off on tangents, kind of like Aaron Cleary, right? But I just wanted to kind of talk to you about the situation. You know, it was really interesting because in my mind, the red pill makes complete sense, right? I mean, it was like an epiphany when I was, you know, 44, 45 years old. And based on my experience, it totally makes sense. But to other people who have been living this blue pill lifestyle, it doesn't make sense to them. And they're just like, what are you talking about, dude? You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's kind of where it's at, guys. You know, don't ever try it. Don't ever do it. I know you guys are proud that you found it. Or you're black pilled. You know, you may be pissed off because you found it. You found it late in life. You know, I got a little black pilled. I was mad because I wish I had learned this, you know, easily 20 years ago. You know, I wouldn't have done half the shit that I did, you know, 20 years ago. You know, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? When the student's ready, the teacher will appear, and that's kind of what happened to me. I'm just really glad that I found it. I'm really glad that I was enlightened, because all it did was solidify what I already knew and the path that I wanted to go down anyway. I didn't feel comfortable going down this path because that was a path of somebody else. I wanted to go down this path because that's the path that I wanted to, right? That was my decision. So, bottom line is, don't try to red pill anybody. Go your own way. Do your own thing, right? Steve McQueen, man. I live for myself and I answer to nobody. Okay? I hope that helps, guys. You know, life is a beautiful thing, man. It really is. But you just have to realize it and find what your life is going to be. All right? I hope that helped. Hang in there. Later.